So Mitch McConnell has predictably backstabbed President Trump. And the reason why I say predictably is because if you guys have been watching my channel and paying attention to what I've been saying, I've said this time and time and time again. The political spectrum in the United States is currently the progressive left, the establishment right, and the populist right. And the reason why I have to keep reiterating this is because, one, it's just true. Two, it is the only way things make sense in terms of what you're seeing going on. I'm telling you, right? And this is why in every single last one of my videos, I always analyze politics with this political spectrum in mind. And when you understand this political spectrum, this is no surprise. The Republicans, the establishment Republicans, are not in line with the president. That is just plain and clear. The best analogy I can give you guys in terms of the relationship between President Trump and Mitch McConnell, which I think is true, is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Naruto. I used to be big in anime back in the day, but Mitch McConnell is Danzo, right? And President Trump is the Hokage, right? The Hokage is the leader of the village, right? That everybody sees, right? He's making the decisions. But Danzo, who was the leader of the Ambu Black Ops, actually was running the village in the background. At least that's who McConnell thinks he is. So what is happening right now is that Mitch McConnell has basically been neutral for a long time, and he's waited until he thought it was politically expedient to come out and congratulate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on winning the presidency. That's what he's doing now, because the establishment GOP is ready to distance themselves from President Trump. But before we get in that, my name is Greg Foreman, and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective, aka a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at gforemanbcp. Let's get it. All right, guys. So like I said, Mitch McConnell has backstabbed the president, unfortunately, which probably is not a great political move in my opinion, but he did. So let's take a look at his comments today at a Senate meeting in which he congratulated Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
So today I want to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. The President-elect is no stranger to the Senate. He's devoted himself to public service for many years. I also want to congratulate the Vice President-elect, our colleague from California, Senator Harris. Beyond our differences, all Americans can take pride that our nation has a female Vice President-elect for the very first time. I look forward to finishing out the next 36 days strong with President Trump. Our nation needs us to add another bipartisan chapter to this.
I'm asking you to make a donation right now to help flip Georgia and the Senate. Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff need our help.
Record of achievement.
All right, guys. So you heard it there, right? Mitch McConnell came out and congratulated Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, predictably, the populist right is not happy about this, and rightfully so. And the reason why is because they want these elected officials to stand up for the president, okay? They want them to ride the wave because the Democrats never accepted the presidency of Donald Trump. From the get-go, they said that President Trump was illegitimate, right? And because of that, it is understandable why a lot of us feel the way we do about a potential Joe Biden presidency. Now, this is also following some other establishment Republicans like Congressman Paul Mitchell coming out and saying that he's leaving the Republican Party over efforts by President Trump and many Republicans to overturn the election that they say that Trump lost 306 to 232 electoral votes. And Mitchell writes he fears the long-term harm to our democracy. Now, I actually read the letter that he said, and he thinks that because of what Trump is doing, he doesn't agree with it, even though he has voted, I think he said 95% of the time with the president. He just doesn't agree with it. That's why he's leaving. And guys, like I said, this has created a clear divide. And you can go back to my videos where I was one of the first people talking about what could possibly happen in Georgia in terms of how this could possibly divide the GOP, right? I was one of the first people talking about the plot to not vote in the Senate race in Georgia, right? I feel like I was pretty much ahead on a lot of stuff because, again, once you understand that political spectrum, this stuff becomes a lot easier to analyze and understand. Now, Lynn Wood has come out, who is aligned with the populist right, and said, Mitch McConnell is not a patriot. Ask his wife. She knows. I wonder what he actually means by that. But McConnell just wants power, influence, and money. He is willing to sell America to get what he wants. McConnell is a traitor to American patriots. His day of judgment is coming. Now, this is after President Trump, who has also come after the establishment, calling out Brian Kemp and Doug Ducey in Arizona, basically saying, who is a worse governor, Brian Kemp of Georgia or Doug Ducey of Arizona? These are two rhino Republicans who fought against me in the Republican Party harder than any Democrat. They allowed states that I won easily to be stolen. Never forget, vote them out of office. And President Trump also retweeted Lynn Wood, basically calling for Brian Kemp and the Secretary of State of Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, to be jailed. President Trump is genuinely a good man. He does not really like to fire people. I bet he dislikes putting people in jail, especially quote unquote Republicans. He gave Brian Kemp and the Secretary of State of Georgia every chance to get it right. They refused. They will soon be going to jail. Again, guys, President Trump retweeted this, and I don't know what else signals that President Trump is not happy right now with the establishment than this and what is going on currently right now. And to be quite honest with you guys, if there's one thing that I would pay probably an unlimited amount of money for right now, is to hear the behind the scenes conversations between Mitch McConnell and President Trump right now. I really would love to hear it. I mean, that would be grade A TV and entertainment for me, because I just know that these guys are not aligned politically. I just know it. Let's listen to the Stop the Steal coalition that has basically been trying to fight for President Trump in terms of their response to Mitch McConnell's comments.
They'll each be addressing you today. But before we do, I want to go ahead and say our press conference was preempted this morning by a speech from the GOP majority leader, Mitch McConnell. I want to read a little bit about what he said, since his comments are going viral. Let's let ours. 6 weeks ago, Americans voted in this year's general election. The legal and constitutional process has continued to play out since then. Yesterday, electors met in all 50 states so that this morning our country has officially a president-elect and a vice president-elect. Many of us had hoped that the presidential election would yield a different result, but our system of government has processes to determine who will be sworn in January 20th. The Electoral College has spoken. So today, he went on, he wanted to congratulate, and he called him President-elect Joe Biden. My comments are simple. Majority Leader, the constitutional process has not been exhausted. We have January 6th. In fact, you play a role in that. And we know that there's going to be a debate of the two chambers. And so I would like for the GOP senators to join Congressman Mo Brooks. We're here to break news that we're doing our own whip count. We have 7 members of the House in the Republican caucus that are willing to stand with Mo Brooks so far. They are currently circulating a letter. We are targeting over 100 of them that signed on to the amicus brief in the Texas case. We think that this president is going to have 100 members in the House supporting, objecting to the House certification on January 6th. So what we're looking for, and why we're doing this press conference today, is we are calling on the majority, the GOP Senate majority, which we hope that they keep through these 2 Georgia Senate races. We are calling on at least 1 senator to join them. So a lot of people are asking, what is phase 2? What is phase 3 of Stop the Steal in your coalition? You have millions of supporters. This is it. We are going to target the GOP senators, and we will primary the ones that don't stand with us, and we will celebrate the ones that do stand with the voters. Again, we want to exhaust all constitutional options, because this is about voting rights. This is about civil rights. If we are to believe that we are a self-governing people, it's also about natural rights. A couple other senators that we definitely got to point out some awful things that they said. Yesterday, Senator John Thune said, it's an opportunity for people to vent and protest, but in the end, we have a clear way of determining our president. Again, is Senator Thune not familiar with the process? The House and the Senate must certify the Electoral College. If not, Joe Biden doesn't have to participate in that process. We kept hearing that Joe Biden was president before the gathering on Monday. Then why did he participate in the contest on Monday? We are being gaslit. This is a psychological operation on the American people, and patriots are standing up to say, enough of this. John Cornyn, my senator, pointed out that Barbara Boxer carried the objection in 2004 of the Ohio delegation. Again, this isn't actually new. This isn't new. 1876. There were 3 states that sent dueling electors. 1960, there was one state, the state of Hawaii, that sent dueling electors. In 2000, there's still that viral video where Al Gore is embarrassed because not one senator will carry the objections of the Congressional Black Caucus, which objected to the certification of the Electoral College. And in 2004, Senator Barbara Boxer said that they shouldn't seat the Ohio delegates. This is not new. We want all constitutional remedies, all constitutional options to be exhausted. And why? So that people can have faith in the electoral process, so that people do not drop out of the electoral process. We have a runoff election in Georgia that is going to determine which way this country goes, whether we have a balance of power in Washington or whether or not AOC is the whip for both of those chambers. We want people to stay engaged in this process, which means that the Republicans must fight the media. We must fight the Democrats. We must exhaust all options, not just in the courts, but we must call on state legislators to meet. Hopefully governors will join us. Hopefully secretaries of state will join us. The United States Constitution reserves this right to the state legislators.
All right, guys. So basically what he's talking about is something that I've already talked about. And again, guys, I have to plug myself here because the more this stuff happens, the more I'm like, I've already talked about this. I've already explained this to my audience. Guys, if you're watching my channel, you're politically educated, right? Like, I talked about the process of Congress basically having the option to reject the Electoral College votes. And this is something that I didn't even know about until I looked it up. And it's something that a lot of people don't know about. The Electoral College is not necessarily the end. On Congress, Mike Pence, who is the president of the Senate, goes out and says, all right, he reads the Electoral College votes and they can say yay or nay, right? Most of the time they say yay and they agree. But Congress can reject Electoral College votes, and if they reject enough votes successfully, then Joe Biden doesn't reach the 270 that he needs to win. And if he doesn't, then the presidential election comes down to the House delegations, in which right now the projected advantage is Republicans with 26 votes. That is the end game right now that it seems that the Trump Stop and Steal coalition is gunning for, right? Now, from a political analysis standpoint, in reference to McConnell's comments, personally, I don't think that this is a good political move for him. And the reason why, because it is obvious from the polling, right? From everything that we see on social media, the party is the party of Trump. The GOP is the party of Trump. And Mitch McConnell obviously does not believe that. He believes that he is the leader of the Republican Party. And this is why he's basically backstabbed Trump. But what he needs to understand is that the reason why President Trump was elected in the first place is because people don't necessarily like the establishment. And if they had to choose between Mitch McConnell and President Trump, which is what it looks like is going to come down to if they continue down this path, if they don't just chill and wait it out, let's see what happens, they may end up fracturing the party in the sense that they might alienate a ton of people who are hardcore supporters of the president. And the more they say, the more they come out against the president, it's not going to be a good look. And the reason why is because, again, I've said this as well. You know, quote me now, thank me later. I'm telling you, Trump's fundraising activities after this election has been astronomical. I mean, I think the last number I read, he raised over $200 million. That is peak campaign numbers. Okay. Now, with that money, he's not just trying to fight the election. He also can use that money to fund any political activities going forward in the future, whether it's for himself or a candidate that he supports. I do believe that in a worst case scenario, I'm not saying Trump's not trying to win. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in a worst case scenario, if Biden takes office, President Trump is not going to be done. I think that he is going to try to make a 2024 run. He will be able to do that. And the thing is that with that in mind, again, this is not an easy out for the establishment of GOP. It's just not. Right? Like, if you choose not to align with Trump, what happens is that this man actually does have the power to primary a lot of these establishment Republicans. I mean, he's already trying to do that with Brian Kemp and Ducey in Arizona. And also they're risking alienating the Trump supporters in Georgia who still have to go and vote in the Senate runoff race. And again, if the establishment continues to alienate, what could happen is that they may not vote at all. We've already seen a strong indication of that type of sentiment coming from Lynn Wood and others who have basically rallied around this idea of F the establishment. So this game that Mitch McConnell's playing, he is a master politician. I can't lie to you, right? Him and Nancy Pelosi are up there, right? In terms of how to be a politician 101. I'm not sure if he can politician his way through this because Trump is a force that they've never seen before. And if they come after him in the way they're doing it, I'm not so sure if this is going to end up well for the GOP because it is the party of Trump. And I think that most people would take Trump over the GOP. But that's just my opinion on that. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace. All right, guys. So some of these governors, like Andrew Cuomo, like Gavin Newsom, like Gretchen Whitmer, a.k.a. Big Gretch, is what the super woke revolutionary liberals like to call her, are like mob bosses, right? They run up in your establishment, in your business, and tell you what you can and can't do. And if you don't follow their rules, they will shut you down permanently and also slap a fine on top of it. Okay? And these mob bosses also determine who are the winners and who are the losers. And right now, the winners are big tech and big tech billionaires like Bill Gates. And these winners lose touch of the losers. The losers are small business, everyday people like you and me who may or may not be struggling to get through this pandemic. They don't care because they're out of touch. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective, aka a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, guys, take a look at some of these comments from Bill Gates in reference to how he sees the current outlook of the pandemic and the business environment going forward into 2021.
Consider taking that kind of drastic action and the kind of drastic action we saw when the pandemic first began, or can there be a more nuanced approach?
Well, certainly mask wearing has essentially no downside. They're not expensive. Bars and restaurants in most of the country will be closed as we go into this wave. And I think, sadly, that's appropriate. Depending on how severe it is, the decision about schools is much more complicated because the benefits are pretty high. The amount of transmission is not the same as in restaurants and bars. So, trade-offs will have to be made. But the next 4 to 6 months really call on us to do our best, because we can see that this will end, and you don't want somebody you love to be the last to die of coronavirus.
When do you think life will fully return to what we thought of as normal back in January. No masks, no social distancing, no other protective measures necessary.
Certainly by the summer, we'll be way closer to normal than we are now. But even through early 2022, unless we help other countries get rid of this disease and we get high vaccination rates in our country, the risk of reintroduction will be there. And of course, the global economy will be slowed down, which hurts America economically in a pretty dramatic way. So we'll have, starting in the summer, about 9 months where a few things like big public gatherings will still be restricted. But we can see now that somewhere between 12 to 18 months, we have a chance, if we manage it well, to get back to normal.
All right, guys. So that's his opinion. He thinks that bars and restaurants should stay closed because it's necessary. He also does not believe that we will get back to normal until early 2022, maybe at the earliest of summer 2021. Now, Bill Gates came on a lot of fire for this because he does seem like he's out of touch. It seems like he's really not thinking about the small guy, the little man. These bars and these restaurants employ a lot of Americans. The restaurant and the service industry is one of the largest employers in America. A lot of people rely on that. And a lot of people have lost their jobs to no fault of their own during this pandemic. And it almost seems like the government has abandoned us. They shut us down. They've forced us to abide by these mandates. Again, YouTube, I'm not saying anything that's against public health officials and what they recommend. I'm just analyzing the situation. And when you have videos like this, in which you see a struggling restaurant owner in tears because of the blatant hypocrisy from mob boss governors like Gavin Newsom, it really is not a good look.
I'm losing. Everything I own is taken away. And they set up a movie company right next to my outdoor patio. Right over here.
Angela Marsden, owner of Pineapple Hill Saloon and Grill, outraged and emotional, posting this video on social media after she saw production tents and tables set up in a parking lot just a few feet from the outdoor dining area she's not allowed to use.
They have not given us money and they have shut us down. We cannot survive. My staff cannot survive. Look at this. Tell me that this is dangerous. But right next to me as a slap in my face, that's safe. This is safe.
Just blatant hypocrisy. Blatant hypocrisy, right? And this is par for the course in terms of a lot of the sentiments that we're getting from small business owners across the country. They're struggling to keep employees getting paid. They're struggling to bring in customers. They're struggling to survive. A lot of people built their businesses based off their blood, sweat, and tears. And it's just really unfair to have the government come in and just take it all away and then have a billionaire like Bill Gates go on national TV and continue to push the idea that everybody else has to stay shut down except big tech and these big corporate retail shops. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I am a common sense capitalist. I am a hardcore capitalist, okay? I love capitalism. However, sometimes it gets to the point where you start thinking about, wow, how come sometimes small businesses lose while big corporations are winning? How does that work? Now, if you don't believe me, let's take a look. at Bill Gates' net worth during April 2020. This was peak pandemic, right? 98 billion. Now his net worth before in October 2019 was $106 billion. Now it is $111 billion as of September 2020. This man has gained almost what? $13 billion basically since the peak part of the pandemic, right? I mean, again, you know, I'm not trying to count anybody's wallets. I'm not. I'm just saying. It's just funny how somebody who basically gained $13 billion in net worth is talking about keeping small businesses and restaurants shut down. Now, I mean, you also can take a look at the year-to-date return on some of these big tech companies that are winning, right? Like Microsoft, right? They're up 36.66% on the year. They're up. Walmart is up 25.78% on the year. Now, they have not shut down Walmart. Walmart is apparently safe to go and shop in, even though there's like, what, thousands of people in Walmart at one time. That's safe to go, but little mom and pop shop, that's not safe. You have to shut down. But Walmart, a big box retailer, can stay open. Look at Amazon. Amazon up 68.65% year to date on Amazon. It's crazy. Facebook up 33.28%. They're up. All these tech companies. Google up 33.26% on the year. Now he's saying this while small businesses are getting robbed blind. 48% of small businesses fear closing for good. Some 50% of retailers could close for good, and that figure is up from 45% only 2 months ago. 47% of small businesses, B2B firms, are struggling to keep the lights on and might not be able to make it the next year. This is up by 9 percentile points from September, where the figure was just 38%. Among those hard hit are those in travel and hospitality sector, where 62% say they might not survive in the next 3 months. Others who have expressed their concern include owners of gyms, beauty salons, health and wellness shops and spas, restaurants, marketing and advertising agencies, entertainment companies, construction businesses, law office, and even accounting firms. Those seeking some form of support to weather the storm are shops and services with closure risks of 45% to 62%. And also, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in November, the unemployment rate edged down to 6.7%. That rate is down by 8 percentage points from its recent high in April, but it's 3.2% higher than it was in February. The number of unemployed persons is at 10.7 million, continued the downtrend in November, but is 4.9 million higher than February. Guys, this is currently the landscape of our country, right? And what's funny to me and kind of ironic is that the super liberals / progressives swear up and down that their policies are good for small business. However, the super liberals / progressives want the country to stay shut down for as long as possible, and they want to keep businesses closed. That's what they want to do. In their ideal world, everything will be closed up. They will sit at home while the government sends them money, spending unlimited amounts, right? But what they fail to realize is that that's not how reality works. The government just can't continue printing money endlessly. I mean, our debt to GDP ratio, as I've said almost 1,000 times on this channel, is almost basically 130%, right? Like, that's insane. It's never been this high. So the ironic part is that the same policies and initiatives that the progressives are pushing during this pandemic are the same policies that billionaires like Bill Gates are pushing and telling people. But the leftists claim they're supposed to be against the rich, when their policies during this pandemic, at the very least, is making the rich richer. This is what's happening. And this is something that leftists need to admit. They need to admit that what is happening right now in terms of big tech doing so well and small businesses doing so bad is a product of forcing the closures of these restaurants and small businesses, in which the government has failed to make up for the fact that they forced them to close. And like I said, man, you know, people like Bill Geiz are just out of touch. And that's why he got so much backlash on Twitter, on social media, and in the news. It's just because when you hear something like this as a small business owner, it's somebody that basically has made $13 billion in net worth. That ain't cash, it's net worth. But regardless, I'm not pocket watching, right? I ain't trying to do that. I don't even like doing that, but I'm just saying his net worth grew by $13 billion, right? I would love to have my net worth be $13 billion, whether or not it's liquid or not. And by the way, as you guys can see how well the tech companies are doing in the stock market, it kind of tells you kind of where your money should be moving forward, or at least thinking about having some of your money in that tech realm, because those are the people that's winning right now. That is who the mob, aka the government, is allowing to win. So people love to criticize the president, right, for his response to the virus and whatnot. But at the same time, the president's policies of trying to keep the country open is actually good for the small businesses. He's actually looking out for the little guy, right? The problem is that you have these liberals in these states like California, Michigan, New York, that have forced these shutdowns and have basically overstepped their boundaries as executives in their states. Those are the people that are causing mass unemployment, not President Trump. Those are the people that are ruining people's lives, making people have to resort to crime, violence, maybe even suicide or something like that, just to try to cope with losing their job, losing their livelihood, not being able to feed their families, not being able to feed their kids. Those are the people that's causing that. But they love to throw out, oh, President Trump has caused X amount of deaths from COVID and all that, like that nonsense. The real problem in this country are these liberal governors who have overstepped their boundaries, who think they're basically gods over society and they know what's best for people. And by the way, I mean, again, you got billionaires like Bill Geiz going out here echoing the same sentiment. He doesn't have any medical degree. He doesn't have a medical background. What does he know? Who is he to tell people what's safe and what's not safe? And why is he even speaking on the vaccine? Right? He's not a medical professional. But CNN treats him like a legitimate source of medical information. But yeah, YouTube might tag my channel for medical misinformation, even though I'm not saying anything that's against, public health policies. But it is what it is. As a little guy, I got to do what I got to do. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.